Hey everybody, welcome to episode 97 of Making It. I'm Bob Clagett, here with David Picciuto.
How are you doing?
Whoa, he backed up from the mic 6 feet to do that full volume.
You learned that from Aretha Franklin.
And Jimmy Diresta.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
What's up? What's going on?
Me, personally, I just drove back from Albany, and I was in Albany Steel all morning. It was a rush to get back here to meet you guys in time. So I was just telling David while you were away from the mic, I went to Albany Steel this morning, and I shot a bunch of cool footage of machines and, just general stuff. I was kind of surreptitiously filming, so I couldn't get any real good explicit shots. I didn't even ask because I'm sure they wouldn't have liked it. But they're going to get promoted in my next vlog, and I'm sure they'll like that. So I went into the scrap room and I bought this giant chunk of steel, 3 inches thick by 10 inches. It's like a big hockey puck. I don't know what I'll do with it, but. And
you just because it was a big piece of metal.
It was just cool looking. It was $35. And when I got back to the house, I knew it was coming. Willie was here to receive it. When I got back to the house, my Tormach 440 was sitting in the driveway in a big crate, and it's still sitting there right now, and it weighs 800 pounds. So. Got to figure out what I'm going to do, but we have a couple of ideas. So that's new and exciting, and I got to figure out. I got to make room for that. My tool giveaway. Maybe if I come up to Boston, I'll bring, since I'm going to have my truck, I'll bring anything that I don't need anymore because I gave away a few tools this morning. So I'll bring a bunch of tools with me. I'll just go because I'm really trying to clean house to make room for the inevitable move. So I'll bring a bunch of tools with me to just give away to whomever. Maybe we could have a raffle or whatever just to make it easy or make it fair instead of just handing it to whoever's standing in my truck when I pull in the parking lot, which is what I often do. So I'm going to see if I can bring some of my used tools up. I put out on the sidewalk this morning, and these are really old, so don't feel like anybody's missed anything. A bag of all Porta-cable battery-operated tools. They're actually 10 years old. I thought to myself last night, these are all 10 years old. The batteries are 10 years old. The charger's 10 years old. They still work, But I was like, you know what? Why am I saving these? I just put them on the sidewalk this morning in front of the house, and they were gone in 3 minutes.
There you go.
And since DeWalt gave me a brand new table saw that runs by a battery, which is awesome, and it's really sturdy and well-built, I gave away my old Ryobi 10-inch contractor saw. I just put it on the sidewalk. So I'll look for more stuff like that to bring up with me. But I'm cleaning up this week and filming steel places, so it's exciting.
David, what about you?
Well, just got back from the craft show that we did last weekend, and I had an excellent, fantastic day. And
nice.
So it was really good. And then so this week, I'm really, really excited because the book has been printed. The new cutting board book is done. I got a call from a freight company earlier today saying, "Hey, we have 350 pounds of freight coming your way. Be prepared." So what's going to happen is they're dropping off all the books tomorrow, and one of the guys from Springhouse Press, that's the publisher, he's going to be in the area. So he's stopping by on Thursday to pick up the books. So I am going to sign 9 cartons of books between now and Thursday morning. And then he's going to take them. Yeah, it's going to be.
What?
Yeah. So he's going to then take them back to Springhouse Press. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to take orders on my website, and they're going to take orders on their website, and they are going to do all the fulfillment. And so they'll already be signed, and they will do all the shipping, which I hate shipping. That's why everybody for the first book I just sent to Amazon because I did not want to ship books. And so we figured out a good way for me to still take the orders. I actually will make a little bit more profit instead of selling it on Amazon, and they'll all be signed. And really super excited to get these books out there. I'm not super excited for signing 9 cartons of books.
How many books is that?
I'm not sure. I'm not real sure.
More than 9?
Yeah. So I thought, okay, while I'm signing these, I'm wondering if there's a video that I could shoot, some sort of like me telling a story or some sort of vlog to put on the second channel. So I'm gonna brainstorm tonight on like how to turn this into something fun and make a video out of it.
Do something like Willy Wonka's Golden Ticket. The book will be in your possession.
Oh, yeah. You know,
Put a golden ticket in 5 books, and if the people find that golden ticket,
dude,
they get to come and...
I'm totally doing that. Well, I'm not going to...
They come get a tour of your chocolate factory.
Yeah, they're not coming to my house. But, yeah, I'm totally going to do that. That's an awesome idea. And so,
since they're in your possession.
And so I'm probably not going to put out any making videos this week. I'm not real sure because I also have a lot of website updates to do. I'm working on sort of like a half redesign of the site, and plus I'm getting some things up in the store, and I have to get the store ready for the books. So my focus and energy is on the website and these books this week.
Sweet. Yeah. So I'm curious about the craft show. Like, you said it went well, but how did it go relative to what you were expecting? Like, did you run out of things? Did you?
Yes.
And how did it go for Kelly? Because she was selling stuff too, right?
Yes. Kelly had an okay day, and I would say I had an excellent day as far as like it's the most I made from any craft show that I've done. And I haven't done like hundreds. It's just I've only done maybe 10, 12, somewhere around there. And the one thing that I wish I would have had like 10 times more of is the little laser cut notebooks. Those are pretty. Sold so fast. Yeah. And then a bunch of little pencil holders. That's the notebooks. And then I always sell these little wine displays. It's that thing that goes over top of the wine bottle and the glasses hang on there. I always sell out of those every single time. I had clipboards. I only took 4 of these clipboards that I made, but I sold out of those pretty quick. One lady bought 3 clipboards, and they're, I had them at $25 a piece, and she bought 3 of them because she has 3 kids, and she's going to use them to hang their artwork on them. And so that gave me the idea of like I should actually make a video of like an artwork clipboard hanger type thing. So that gave me a good idea.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm glad it went well. That's good.
Thanks.
Let's see. For me, if you can't tell from my voice, I've been sick, and I think I'm getting over it, but it's just obnoxious because I've actually needed to do voiceover on this week's video for about a week now, and I haven't been able to do it because I sound like a frog. So hopefully this will go away so that I can finish that video up in time to put it out on Thursday. Otherwise, it might just sound weird. I'm not sure. And then I've been working on, let's see, the video that's coming out this week is a craft, like arts and craft organizer for kids. Basically, I have 4 kids, and so we have tons of colored pencils and markers and scissors and crayons and paper, and it just ends up in this giant pile. And so I made a really simple little wooden organizer with slots in the front for different types of paper to go in, and then trays on the top, like a tray on the top, and then little baskets on the top to hold all the different things. And so it works out pretty well. The trick is really just getting my kids to keep using it, putting things back where they're supposed to be, but they're getting the hang of it. So, and then tonight, actually, we're doing this show early because tonight I have to drive to Charleston, and I'm giving a talk at a couple of the makerspaces there are getting together and having like a get together about the state of makerspaces in Charleston. And so I'm going to give a little talk there and hang out with them, which will be cool.
That isn't the thing we did last year, is it? Or it's
by the same people. Yeah, it's not the same event, but
it's not a year later, is it? When did we do that?
It might be. I don't remember when that was exactly.
Time is just like completely not stuck on any pins for me. I'm forgetting everything.
I feel like that was in February maybe or something. I don't think it's been a year. But either way.
When you're having fun.
But it's that's right. But I'm going to Charleston very quickly. Like I'm leaving in the afternoon, coming back late tonight. So unfortunately I won't get to do anything or like won't get to see Izzy or anything. But yeah, doing that. And let's see, update on Boston. Our hotel rooms are gone. Is that right?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay, so hotel rooms are gone. I did see that somebody returned a ticket today, and one went out yesterday as well. So a few tickets are coming back in, and people snatch them up real quickly. So if you are still looking for a ticket to get in, keep an eye on the website because sometimes they do show up. You may be able to get one. And I think everything is moving forward pretty well. We're working on a place to get together either Friday or Saturday night. We've got some giveaways to do for the people that are going to be there. We've got John Berard's going to be the MC. We've got several live podcasts. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be super cool. And I think that's all the... Oh, yeah. This is... can I plug something?
Please.
Do you guys care if I plug something to myself? So the 21st is the deadline. I have this exclusive new shirt that's up on Teespring. So I have it's a 10-day only thing. You can only get this shirt for 10 days only through Teespring, and you can get it in black, red, or orange, short sleeve, long sleeve, or a hoodie. And we're just doing kind of an experiment to see, if, like, what a limited run shirt would be like. And so if anybody's interested in that, I'll put a link in the show notes, but it's also teespring.com/ILTMS. So if you want to check it out, get it before the 21st, that's when it's gone. Which I guess this show will be like right before that. So I don't know if that'll help anybody, but yeah, that's what I got. What are we talking about today?
I think we're going to talk about a couple different things. You want to start off with thing number 1 or thing number 2?
Thing number 1.
All right.
I don't know what that is, but let's start with thing number 1.
We're going to talk...
Seuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the legality and responsibility. This was brought up by a couple different people on Twitter last week when we said, hey, what should we talk about? And this is going to be very broad. Like, when I say the legality of what we do, it's like when you try to do what we do on camera, and also of like when we sell something and the potential of somebody hurting themselves. And I know Jimmy has some thoughts on this, so I kind of want to throw it your way first, Jimmy, to see what you have to say.
Well, it's funny. I've been in the product business for many years, and I used to have product liability insurance when I used to manufacture toys. But my partners, who are my brother and my friend Wayne used to deal with that, and we had a lawyer who would handle a lot of it. Wayne would facilitate it. So recently, I saw Wayne, and I told him what I was doing. It's been almost 20 years since we had a business together. And I told him about the ice picks, and he goes, "You don't have product liability insurance?" I was like, "Well, I honestly don't know if I need it, because it's just a piece of steel. Everyone knows, I don't know. It's almost like a piece of art, and less like a real tool." So he kind of got me a little neurotic about that, and so I should look into that. This honestly, I'm thinking about that right now on the air. But I said no. He's like, "Oh, you should," but he's also a nervous Nelly. He always worried about a lot of things, so. That's why sometimes I just avoid people that are nervous so they don't make me nervous. So that's probably the solution, is just not to talk to him again.
Wow.
That was a joke.
I had nobody make Jimmy nervous.
Yeah. It's funny, like back in the day when I was like being harassed by debt collectors every single day, I just stopped getting the mail and I stopped answering the phone, and that seemed to take care of all my problems.
Everything got better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of half a joke, but I do have to consider it. Now I'm making this hatchet, and that's going to be something that's going to be probably a little bit more physically, abused. And I'm looking at some manufacturing processes, and the one they showed me recently, I was like, I really don't think that's going to do, because this thing's going to actually be used by some people, I'm sure. And so I've been talking to a couple people, even Tom from Tom's Tool Room, about the strength, and he said nothing stronger than cutting it from a block, which would also make it very expensive. But then again, if I only made a few of them, people might buy them. So I'm looking into, making sure things work well and don't have any problems as far as my own products. But when I build something for somebody's house, people always ask me if I have insurance. And I used to have insurance, but it's just almost prohibitive. It's like so cost prohibitive. It's like if you get a job and you're going to build somebody a dresser that's just going to sit in their house, and to deliver it to the building, just to go through the doorman's, the service entrance, you need to have $2 million of product liability, or liability insurance, not product liability, but liability insurance, just to walk into the building. And then when I try and get, like, for instance, I need to get it for like a 5-month period, it's like thousands of dollars. I'm like, it's almost not even worth it. It's like, sometimes I'll build something and I'll just say, you come and get it. If, this way you're the tenant, you could move into your own house with your own furniture. So if I deliver it, it becomes so complicated. One way I've been able to get around that is I hire movers that have the liability coverage. So a lot of the buildings in the city just to literally walk in there with a bag of tools. Like if I walk into the front desk and I say, I'm here to see my friend so-and-so, they go, oh, go right up the elevator. If I say I'm here to see so-and-so apartment, why do you have tools? Oh, got to go in the elevator. You have insurance? It's like, so it's kind of like a kind of play it by ear kind of thing. But I haven't had insurance in years just because it's just so expensive. And, they want to know like we had insurance when we did the TV show down in the basement. A guy came and looked around and he said, clean this corner up, fix this step. Like he went around and it's just, it's annoying. I know it's a necessary evil in certain circumstances, but now that my life has been kind of more isolated with YouTube and that kind of stuff, I don't worry about those things as much. And there have been times where I actually had my friend, because he trusts me that I'm going to do the right thing, submit his insurance form to a certain building if I'm going to work inside that building, because my friend has a huge company. And so he'll submit the form. He'll like call his girl and say, put Jimmy's name on this for the next 2 weeks. And because he has he buys so much insurance or whatever, he has it so often, they'll just put my name and the address of the building on, certain thing for a certain time. I haven't had to use that in a while, but that is always like a fallback position. If the job is so profitable and I know that I need to do this, I'll call in that favor. But I don't have any of that now. And I'm happy because I don't have the stress of also having to go to these places. And like whenever Dave and I have done it, or whenever Willie and I have done it, it's like a orchestrated event. It's like we have to get at park in the street at a certain time and, get in the building in a certain time if you got to get there before lunch because they lock the elevator if it's a service elevator. So I'm happy in my life is just making stupid things and filming it now.
I bet the volume of that work has a lot to do with whether it's cost prohibitive, though.
Yeah.
Like in your case, you're doing it on occasion, so it's cheaper to pay those guys to come and take advantage of their insurance.
That's why my buddy has he's doing $1 million apartments.
Yeah,
he's got 3
if you're
teams
doing it
working
on a weekly basis or something, the insurance would be far cheaper, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any sort of I don't know if not union, that's not the right word, but like cooperative that you could be a part of as a builder or as someone who installs something. Because I'm thinking from like a freelance designer perspective. At one point there was this time where a bunch of these co-ops came up where you could join the co-op, and being part of the co-op would give you a cheaper way to get health insurance or to get whatever insurance that you needed. And they were doing that by volume. You have enough people as part of this co-op, then that co-op can apply for the insurance and you're part of the group discount. I wonder if there's something like that for, craftsmen or I don't know. If anybody has any ideas on that's listening.
Well, there is the freelance
really good
union,
information.
which I've never been a part of. But
does that only cover a certain type of work, or is that?
Well, the freelancers union
people?
is like a union of freelancers, as the name suggests. But you can buy health insurance through that. I have a friend that was involved with, and she asked me, and I just said, "I'm just taking my chances day at a time." Thanks.
That is risky. I mean, I'm with you on the cost, but there is a certain level of risk there.
Yeah.
But,
like I said, now I've extracted myself from, being involved with a lot of this type of work. But when I was in a situation where it was like I worked for this restaurant organization, and they were just like, every day there's like, we need this, we need a shelf here, we need tables, we need this. And I was always very nervous because they never asked for insurance and they didn't seem to care whether I had it or not. They just know that I could do it. And if I was building shelves or things where public people would be, I made sure that I overbuilt it. I wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be any problems. And, so I would always go back and check, and, couple weeks later, I go back and check and make sure. And I tell this story. I don't know if I told it on this show, but Dave and I put this shelf up, big wooden beam with these steel brackets behind it. And it was very strong. But when we went back to look at the restaurant, we happened to be nearby and checked it out. They had 5 and 10 gallon jugs of liquor, like infused vodka. So they had the jug probably weighed 300 or 400 pounds, filled a 30-inch high jug that's with a mouth that's 20 inches wide, filled with vodka and fruit. And I said, I panicked immediately. I was like, you didn't tell me you were going to put that up there. She's like, whoa, I don't know. We changed our mind. I ran like that afternoon. I came back and put steel brackets underneath it. like extra brackets on top. Because, I mean, I go, how long has that been there? She's like, I don't know, 2 weeks. And nothing was deflecting, but, it was over, like, people are eating. We're there at lunchtime, and there's people eating, and there's like a 300-pound jug of vodka over their head. On a shelf, the shelf was about 15 inches deep, and the jug of vodka was like 18 inches deep. So there's like a 3-inch piece of glass hanging out over the edge. So we went and Dave and I went and made brackets and put that in place right there and then. So like I said, that was a circumstance where, like, what if that would have happened? I don't know what would have been my recourse. The person who would have been injured in that circumstance would have wanted to find out who I was, of course, who put this up. They would have sued the restaurant. I mean, I don't know what would have happened.
Right.
But, thankfully that was the only thing that wasn't even an issue, but that was just something that really worried me when I saw it for the very first time. But I rectified it. But if the jar of giant vodka fell on somebody and the shelf didn't fall, that probably would have just been on the restaurant.
So, Bob, you use a lot of sharp, fancy tools. Do you worry about teaching people to hurt themselves?
I honestly don't. So I'm usually pretty specific about why I say what I say, and it may not matter to anybody else, but at least my intention is to say things in a certain way to not come off as something I'm not. So if you noticed in my videos, I never say you should do this or this is. I try not to say like this is how you do whatever. I'm trying to chronicle what I do, and so I always talk about what I did in the past tense. And so I'm not generally trying to suggest that someone do the same thing. And I know that's semantics, and maybe that wouldn't fly, if somebody did get hurt. I don't know, but that's just like my intention is to just chronicle what I'm doing, so that people can pick up things from it, and I can't control whether they try to replicate it or not. But honestly, I've just never really been that worried about it. Because I think there's like, I think there's like a line of like common sense. Like if you're gonna, I'm not claiming to be certified in any particular field or any skill set or anything. And so if someone were to take my advice or take my example and do something by it, I mean, that's like me just finding a random person on the street that may or may not know what they're doing and me just trying to mimic them. That's on me, really. That's not, it could be a crazy person. It's not their fault that they're crazy. It's my fault for following a crazy person. So I don't know. Yeah, I am crazy. I mean, I think there is definitely like potential for any of us to get, somebody to come after us with legal recourse. But I also don't think that there's any way we could 100% safeguard ourselves from that. Insurance is a really smart thing to have. It's a good fallback. I think like the bare minimum that you can do is to create an LLC. And I see a lot of people, and that only goes so far, but I see a lot of people ask, if they're starting a woodworking business or whatever, like, should I just do it in my name as a personal thing, or should I create a corporation or a sole proprietorship? And I don't think any of those are right or wrong. But the reason an LLC is in place, that's what it is limited liability company. The idea is there that the liability stops to a degree at the corporation. It's not like, you can do whatever you want behind this LLC and you're never going to get in trouble for it. It's not that, but it's put in place to stop the liability from someone being able to take like your house. The idea is that they could take everything that LLC owns. Worst case. Now that's not practically always what the deal is going to be, but that's the intention. So in my mind, that's like the bare minimum that you could do to try to safeguard yourself and just try to stop, from you losing everything that you have if somebody did come after you. And part of that means that you also have to do everything you do under that LLC. Because if you do it under your personal, if you buy tools under your personal accounts, maybe that would be weird if somebody came after you. I don't know. I don't know all the details, but also the LLC and all the other legal stuff is per state. So you really have to look at what protections you have with the LLC or with any other company or, corporation or even insurance. That stuff is all by state. So you have to be really aware of like how your state handles that stuff. What about
Does
you,
anybody?
David?
Are you guys aware of anybody having insurance as a YouTuber to protect themselves against somebody coming after them? I don't think that's even possible.
No, not
I mean, an
sure.
insurance company will sell you a policy that they'll never cash in on, but I mean, is it necessary? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
No. You know,
As far as I'm concerned, it's everyone's responsibility that's watching. You know, I watch stuff all the time, and I'm like, oh, I could try that, but that is dangerous. You know, it's like Casey Neistat's video today was his friend Oscar jumping over a horse, like on a skateboard. He did it 10 times till he finally got it. And he fell every time. And every time was like a fall that could have broken an elbow or a finger or a knee or a rib. And who's to say, like, is that person responsible now if a 10-year-old kid goes and does that? I honestly don't think so.
Yeah.
People say, oh, like for instance, this video of Taylor using the drill press, everyone's like, oh my God, her hair was out. I'm like, you know what? We took 3 minutes to drill those things. It's 100% true. Her hair should have been tied back, but it wasn't. And I got some beautiful shots of her. You know what? It's enough already. I know that, but and then someone's like, you're responsible in case so a 25-year-old girl is going to go use a drill press with her hair out and say because she watched Taylor do it, and she's going to get her hair ripped off. I mean, what's the likelihood of that? If she's near a drill press, she already should be prepped. Like I told Taylor before that, I said, put your hair back. She said, shut up, and she did it herself. She's old enough to do her own thing.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought like. And I don't say this in my videos, but you are responsible for your own safety, and that's just common sense. And about a year and a half ago,
it says it in my description.
Yeah, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I had my lawyer come on, and I did a whole 22-minute interview, and we'll post a link. We'll post a link to that down in the show notes. But his advice, which I haven't really followed, was just put a disclaimer on your videos saying, this is a dangerous hobby and you use at your own risk. And I don't know. I don't think any of us are in a position to give legal advice. So I just want to say on behalf of everybody here, you are responsible for what you do. All right. Just use common sense. So like Bob, I don't worry too much about what I'm doing in the videos. My videos are more for entertainment. I never really thought about how I word everything, and I found that very interesting. How you say this is what I did in past tense. That might be
just don't say anything.
Just don't say anything, like you.
Yeah. I don't know if that even matters. That's just in my head. That's my approach to it. I don't claim that actually safeguards me from anything.
Yeah.
In the context, I talked about this once before, but this young man in Mexico got hurt on a table saw, and he said he was just doing what I did. And he showed me he cut his fingers pretty bad across all 4 of his fingers. And we emailed through Facebook. I said, what exactly did you do? And when he explained it to me, I was like, that's not what I did. I said, if you watch my video, I didn't do it that way. You did it. You misinterpreted what I did. And I was using a sled, and he tried to do something between the fence and a blade, and it got jammed up and kicked back on him. But I was using a sled. And so I said, I'm very sorry you got hurt. But, I said, if you're going to try and follow my lead, you got to do it accurately. And so I said, always use a sled if you're going to try and do any kind of specialty. He was trying to do, he was doing finger joints between the blade and the fence. So he wasn't accusing me. He just goes, what did I do wrong is really what he said to me. He goes, I got injured and I just did what you did. And when he explained to me, I was like, you didn't do what I did.
I will say though that it's not relevant to that, what you're just talking about, but that made me think about it, is I have modified some stuff about how I work in the shop because of comments about safety. Personally, I'm not typically that worried about I probably should, but I don't always wear safety glasses. And I don't always, turn on the dust collector, and I don't always do these things. Don't always wear a respirator when I'm spray painting something or whatever. But that stuff has come up enough that the threshold of okay, I hear the comment for the 1,000th time versus just putting on the respirator. That's modified my behavior a little bit in that I'm far more aware of when I have safety glasses on or not. So now I try to just leave them in places where they're in view so that when I go down to work, I don't have to think about I'm filming, I have to put them on. It's just, I do my best just to put them on so that I don't have to think about it anymore.
Well,
and that's, that's
my
like setting
story.
a good habit, just by having them there, it's setting up a good habit that hopefully eventually I won't even have to think about it. That's just part of what I do in the shop.
I was lucky enough where I've had a few eye injuries in my life, but one in the shop was I cut the white of my eye. And so from that point on, I always wear glasses because I always think of the potential. Because I actually had the experience. I was on a construction site and a nail hit me in the eye. But from that, every single time I think to myself, oh, I'm just going to drill press this quick. And I just say to there's like a little voice in my head says, go get your glasses, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even turn the switch on.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's somebody else in the room using anything that could, shoot something off of whatever they're doing, I have my glasses on. And that's just me personally. I actually wear reading glasses most of the time. So I have the plastic kind of safety style reading glasses I wear all the time anyway. But if I'm in like a broader area, I also just, and someone's grinding or whatever, I always have glasses on. So that's, I think that's important. Because there's going to be that one thing, like for instance, I'm using a wire wheel to clean rusty metal. And that wire wheel spits off little crooked wires all the time. And I feel them hit me in the face, but I always have my glasses on. And then the other day I was doing it and somebody came near me with no glass. I said, I could just stand over there until I'm done. Because God forbid, you just get one of those shards right into your eyeball and that's the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the beginning of something painful.
Unfortunately, having little events like that will teach you the lesson that you need to start, like I had a grinding wheel explode on me, like one of those fiber grinding discs.
Those are dangerous, exactly.
Exploded, and I didn't have a face shield on. I had glasses on because I was thinking, I need to have glasses on just in case sparks and stuff. But I wasn't expecting that thing to actually disintegrate and throw chunks, and it did. And they cut my face, and not in a way that was really a big deal, but having a face mask on would have made it so that I didn't get damaged at all.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever see that famous among the community picture of Lutz with the nail sticking out of his cheek?
Mm-mm.
You ever see that? Look on his Instagram.
No.
He'll hear this and tweet it.
No thanks.
I block everybody that sends me bloody pics via Twitter or Facebook or email. I don't want to see them. I will block you.
Yeah. Lutz got a nail from, I think he was using a table saw, and it was just like a 16 gauge air nail that stuck right in his cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah, a face shield is important. You'll see my new video that I put out in the next couple of days is going to be me taking this slab table with a steel base, and I'm grinding the steel base with a burr on the end of a die grinder. And that burr literally cuts the metal like a milling machine and throws little slivers of steel in every direction. They're like everywhere. They're like over my head, they're in my hair, they're in my ears. And the most I could do is wear a face shield, because even those will navigate around my glasses. So I wear a face shield whenever I do that. And I try my hardest to control where the shavings go, because they're shavings. They're not sparks. They're little tiny curly cues of razor sharp metal. Yeah. And there's millions of them, and they're, microscopic, but all of a sudden I feel like a sharp pain in my palm, and I got one of those in my palm and I can't even see it. And I got to dig until the pain goes away. That's how small they are.
Here's a quick tip for you older gentlemen out there. Don't clip your ear and nose hairs, because that will filter all those little clips and shavings from getting inside your head.
I live with someone that constantly yanks them out of my ear while I'm driving. So.
While you're driving? Is that what you said?
Whenever we'll be on line at a cashier and she'll just yank hair out of my ears.
That's amazing.
Because she's like, oh, and this is good light.
Yeah, you can see him yeah.
I'm not allowed to have your hair when you go out with someone that's 20 years younger than you.
Well, do you guys have any more suggestions for legality? For me personally, I don't really want to give advice because, like you said, none of us are qualified to give advice. But it's something I'm aware of, but I'm also not neurotic about. I try not to overthink it. I just try to be reasonable and take the consideration of consider the comments that other people bring. I don't do every safety thing that somebody brings to the table in the comments, but if I hear you should be wearing glasses enough, I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. I should be wearing glasses, or I should be wearing a respirator, or whatever. I've changed the way I use the table saw quite a bit based on comments.
I do too. I won't use a
years, you know?
table saw that doesn't have like now. I'm so used to using the table saw that the guys gave me with the guard on top with the vacuum. That when that blade is exposed, I have a whole different set of cautionary approach, because for years I used it without the top guard, and this guard is good on the saw stop because it has the vacuum in it. And every single piece of wood that I can cut, that I need to cut with the ability to keep that guard in place, I keep it in place now. And if I got to do a half cut or a dado or something, I got to use the blade without the top thing. I'm constantly switching it. But like I said, in the past, even just recently, I did a video for the DeWalt video, which should be out soon. I used that table saw, and it came with this whole apparatus, top guard, and I was like, you know what? This isn't a saw stop. Let me put this thing on it. So I put the guard on top just to run the boards through, and it was a little bit of a pain in the butt because I had to go all the way through. I couldn't lift them off the blade, but you know what? I'd rather be safer than sorry.
You know what? You triggered something here. One of the biggest things that I get about my saw stop from non-saw stop users is like, I don't want a machine that makes me feel comfortable using. And
that's ridiculous.
And it is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. There's so many people that are against the saw stop, I don't know why that is, but they have these little arguments. It's like, you're just too comfortable around that, or that's not true. Most of the injuries are kickback. There is one thing. Yes, you're right. Most of the injuries are kickback, but when you try to deflect something and your hand, you throw your hand in front of you, you throw it into the blade. So,
this is off topic and we're going in the weeds, but since I have the saw stop, now Taylor uses the table saw. She used to use it, and I'd be standing there watching it, when hovering, and then anybody that comes to my shop who I don't know personally very well and says, hey, can I cut this? I'm like, I'll cut it for you. They're like, no, I know what I'm doing. And then I would let them use the saw, and I'd be hanging around making sure that I can carry their hand to this, to an ice box. But now with the saw stop, the other day I had a very temporary intern hanging out with me for a few days, and he was using the table saw in the other room. And I was like, but he had the guard on and everything. He wasn't using it without the guard. And I was like, it's a saw stop. I shouldn't worry. He used the thing very professionally, and nobody got hurt and nothing happened wrong. But there was a little hesitation in me, I don't know this person very well. Should I let him use a table saw? He seemed like he could handle himself, and he proved that he knew what he was doing. But the very first time he flipped that switch on, I thought to myself, it's a saw stop.
It's one more. It's one more little insurance policy. It's like having anti-lock brakes in your car. Well, if you drive correctly, you might not have to use them. As long as everybody else is driving correctly too. But that doesn't mean you're not going to need them, right?
Mm-hmm. I think people, a lot of the, not all of it, but a lot of the backlash against saw stop is from a legal principle perspective, which I understand. Okay, I'm not going to comment on that at all. But I think that spills over into saw stop's a bad idea. And no matter what brand it is, whether it's the Bosch or SawStop or whoever else, eventually makes some sort of flesh sensing tool, you're right. It's an extra safety guard that is worth, in my mind, the safety of keeping my fingers is worth whatever principle I am letting go to own that tool. Everybody make that decision on your own, but I like my fingers a lot.
It's a matter of time now before, say, fast forward 20 years from now. You think people are still going to be making table saws without that technology in it? I mean, the patent will be expired by then, and everyone's going to jump on it. And everyone's got their own version of it now that's developing. The next hurdle is making a blade that'll shut off and you can turn back on instantly without having to spend any extra money on fixing it back up. So, we're in the ballpark now. It's just a matter of making all these things happen. Even like an angle grinder or bandsaw, there's going to be all types of flush sensing stuff. It's going in that direction. You can't stop it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, because even, having safer tools will cut down on injuries, which will cut down on liability, which is how we started talking about this. That will in turn cut down on liability for people who are teaching in the tool companies and everything. So, yeah, hopefully it'll head that direction for everybody's sake. But
what a perfect way to end that conversation. Good job, Bob.
Yeah. Do we want to go on to topic number 2?
Yeah. Well, we'll keep it brief. All right, so topic number 2 is working with budgets. And somebody asked us on Twitter, like, hey, do you have a budget per project? I don't have a budget per project. I have my bank account budgets, which I keep an eye on. And I know that I can't build projects that are too expensive because I need to make a profit on what I'm doing. And I don't do a lot of client work. So my budget is always all over the place. But that doesn't mean that I can just go out and buy $1,000 worth of walnut and make the next thing. So I use that limitation of money to make what I'm doing a little bit more creative. I'm like, I could do this. I could use less material. I could use this material instead. And so having budgets and having limitations is a great way to be like super creative and forward thinking in what you do.
I look at it like this now that we're content creators, and I've said this recently, maybe here, where I used to do these TV shows and they'd cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for an episode. I got like a little tiny little crumb from that for my pay, but to host and pay for the place we'd work at and the crew and the rental of the cameras, this was a proper television production, and they'd spend $250,000 per episode. And when I look back at my 200 movies on my YouTube channel, and none of them cost me anything, like literally, like to make a movie aside from my time, which whatever is billable hours, which is still nothing, I made all this content that didn't cost me anything. So when it comes down to like me building this bridge for my upcoming video, and I got a truck full of wood and it's $600 worth of oak, I lay it out and I go, you know what? It's going to be something I'm building for myself and my property. And I amortize it backwards over the hundreds of videos that I made that didn't cost me anything. And so I can take a bump like that and be like, I just created all this content in the last 5 years that cost me zero aside from my time. And so that's how I amortize for my own stuff. And it's in a home improvement because I built this bridge on my property, which now I can go to the back property. But when it comes to client work, I've said it before and I'll say it again, always ask your client how much they want to spend. And that's an uncomfortable question to ask, and it's an uncomfortable question to answer, but it establishes whether this is even worthy of a conversation.
Yeah. Usually they ask you, how much does it cost? And you have to flip that back on them. Don't answer that.
Don't answer. Because, an old adage is whoever says the price first loses. Because the other person can be like, yes, that is so much less than I wanted to spend.
Yeah.
Or, so whoever says the first price loses. So that's why you always ask your client, what's the budget? And they go, well, I don't know. Well, what's it going to cost? And then you got to hit, if they force you to hit them with something, you got to say, well, I charge this many thousands of dollars per day and it's going to take 5 days. So it's going to cost you $25,000. And they go, what? That's crazy. I only wanted to spend $800. And then you go, it was really nice to meet you.
Have a good day.
That's obviously extreme, but you got to find out what ballpark you're in. If you're both in the same price range, and then it's workable. If you're completely, people come to me all the time. Like my buddies come to me the other day, and he's like, he wants me to make this restaurant A-frame that he could write. He's a manager at a restaurant. He wants a chalkboard that says tonight's specials or whatever, happy hour, and he goes, oh, the ones from the restaurant district always break. People kick them and they knock over. And I said, well, unless you're willing to spend $1,000 on one, I said, why are you asking me? He's like, oh, come on. I go, dude, I have like real client work. I'm not going to sit. You can go buy 5 of them for the amount of money I charge you for one and just replace it every 3 months when people kick them and break them. And so I said, why are you asking me to make this? Or when people send me an email, they're like, I've looked around to buy this thing for my husband and they're so expensive. Could you make one? Of course I can make one, but I would charge you 5 times what you'd buy it from on Amazon. Like, why are you asking me? I have a million things to do in my life. So it's, you just got to find out if you're in the same ballpark. I said to my friend, and then after, it's funny. I talked to my friend about this A-frame thing, and it's like, it went from being $1,000 because I don't like the guy that he works for. That was why it was $1,000 to me going, you know what? Maybe I can make a video of that. I'm like, what do you need? How big does it have to be? I'll make it for free now.
It does help.
I need content.
It does help that we need content. And I always use that as, that's a reason for me to spend this money on this wood because I need to make a video. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I talk about this money, because it's content. It's production budget is really how you should look at it.
Yeah.
But
That's the way I look at.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, now I'm going to be building a few things. I'm working. I don't want to announce it yet until I have a video to post, because I don't want to be. I'll wait to say who, but I'm working for somebody and I'm going to make 5 or 6 videos for them. And now I'm asking all my friends, I'm like, do you need anything for your apartment? What's it going to cost? I'm like, don't worry, I'll pay for everything. I just want to have good, legitimate builds that aren't just going to populate my workshop.
Your email's going to blow up now.
No, this is just close personal friends. So they never listen to any of this stuff. They always like, oh, you have a podcast? Yeah.
What's a podcast?
Yeah. What do you have to talk about? I don't know. I always figure it out every week. So no, that's just budget is the cost of production.
Yeah, that's the way I look at everything I spend for the business. It's reinvestment. It's production cost individually for videos, but then also just how do I make videos in general better, or like what's a tool that I can, whether it's a video or audio or workshop tool that I can bring to make everything going forward a step up. And that's very different than if you're making furniture or you're making, craft show items or whatever it is you make that you want to sell. Budgeting there takes on an entirely different life. Yes, you do have to budget for tools over time and maintenance and stuff like that. But the cost of materials factors a much bigger part into what you're doing, because you have to balance that against what you're selling and how much you're selling them for and how many you can sell and how fast you can produce. So there's a bunch of other things there that at least but I think all three of us don't really have to deal with so much anymore. I don't really make anything for anybody. And if I do, it's a gift or it's something that I know they need. So there's no time constraint. There's no sale price. And so I look at everything, all the money that I put into it, as just reinvesting in growth. Mm-hmm. Now, you will notice that through most of my videos, I use plywood. And that's because I also have to, if I do think about budgeting, I think about, well, where am I going to be able to put the most money into this project that I'm going to be able to reuse, or I'm going to be able to get that money back? And so, like, if I'm looking at a month's worth of projects and I have whatever, $1,000 to put into tools and materials and whatever, that's just a random number, by the way. I think about, like, well, I could spend a whole lot of money on walnut, or I could spend a quarter of that money on plywood and then take that 3/4 that I didn't spend and invest it into some electronics components that I can use in multiple projects and take out and reuse, or I could put it into some other material that I don't have or whatever. So a lot of the stuff that I do, the materials are not high grade materials, but that's because I know that particular video doesn't require it. And the money is better invested for me in something that I can use in more videos. So I end up spending the majority of my budgets on camera gear and electronics and things like that are have like a longer life to them rather than single project material cost.
Yeah.
But it's different for everybody. It depends on what you have to invest, how you're going to reinvest it, or if you're not, or it's really different for everybody.
Yeah, it's funny, like, Dave and Tim, to some extent, Dave Welder and Tim Sway, like to recycle stuff, of course, which is great. And I do too when the opportunity's right. But you don't need to spend money on anything to have like good content. For instance, like one of my favorite videos that Dave ever made, which was like so sweet and beautiful, and he says he wants to remake it because it didn't get the attention it deserved, is he found an umbrella in the subway and made it into a kite with his brother. I thought that was like one of the most amazing videos as a concept, and he did a beautiful job at that. But, so we talk about budgets, but you don't need to spend a dime at the end of the day to make good content if you got a good concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or even a good product. I mean, content, yes, I totally agree with you. But even, we've talked about pallet wood and reclaimed wood and stuff a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of material out there that it may not be like beautiful hardwoods, but there's a lot of material out there that you can get for cheap or free that you can use to make whatever you want to make.
So don't forget about free tools, used tools, hand-me-downs, all that.
Pick my garbage. You get good stuff.
Pick Jimmy's garbage.
Go break into Jimmy's house. There's tons of tools. Just take what you want.
I leave them by the edge of the driveway.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well,
Cool.
Anything else on budgets? Are we good?
Just remember, I said it before, I said it again. Always ask how much they want to spend. And don't get nervous because it's just a negotiation. It's like when you go on a date with somebody. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So people are always very nervous about how to price things. Just ask how much they want to spend. And, if you're in your mind, you're like, that's not worth my time. Just say thank you. I can't do it.
The same applies, not that we're going to start talking about YouTube stuff, specifically, but the same thing applies for sponsorships. I know a lot of channels are growing and getting bigger and they're starting to get their first sponsorships. The same concept applies. And it's the exact same thing. So don't go in with, the number, don't go in and say the number that you think they might go for. That's not the way you do it. And that's not the way you do it with custom furniture or anything else either. Do exactly what Jimmy's saying.
And then when an advertiser approaches you to the young channels and they say, we're going to give you X, give them a day, just like when you meet a girl for the first time. You don't call right away. You wait a day or two, and then call back and tell them you want twice what they asked for.
We should do a whole show on tactics.
Yeah.
And then they're going to come back and they'll say, we can't give you that, but we can give you this. And you'll be like, oh my God, I didn't even expect them to say, call me back.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, what have you guys been watching?
But Jimmy just brought him up, and I'm going to bring him up again, and that is Tim Sway. He put out a video, it was either today or yesterday, on a straight edge sled for the table saw.
Oh, yeah, with the rubber padding.
With the rubber pad, which is brilliant. Awesome job, Tim. And the funny thing is, I just built a sled for straight edges and filmed it. It's different than his, and mine's for bigger boards, and it's a sponsored video for Micro Jig, and it's using their things, their jig that's made for this. But mine's going to be a little bit different, and Tim's was fantastic. It was a brilliant execution of this was the first version, and the second version is the one that made it. So it was really cool to see his thought process on that.
Yeah, that's cool. I watched that. Well, you guys know I talked about it, and it's been in one of my vlogs. I got a Torchmate 440 4x4 steel plasma CNC table, and yesterday me and Willie uncrated it, and I got it into the edge of one of my containers, and that's where it's going to live until I have a building to put it in. We have just enough room to work around it. It fills up the whole end of the container, and I set it up, and I'm getting it set up. And so since yesterday, I watched like 30 Torchmate videos, and I'm looking for that one video that says exactly what I need to know, and I can't find it. So I emailed them and sent them pictures, so hopefully they'll answer me back. But absorbing all this information is it's like the Chinese water torture. You can't help but do something ultimately. So I don't mind watching all this extraneous content about something new, like Fusion. We were all talking about Fusion 360, and I'm watching a lot of that stuff as well. And so Torchmate, and then the next thing is going to be my Tormac. So can I just say one thing on those two things that recently I talked about? I'm going to have this plasma CNC table and this Tormac CNC machining tool, and I really feel like the potential is like incredible. I can't wait to get these. I just unfortunately don't have like the perfect placement for them. I'm going to set them up temporarily where I can, but until I have like a bigger spot to have everything under one roof. But I feel it's amazing in this time and place where now I could watch YouTube for a couple of weeks, figure out how to use these tools, maybe ask help from a viewer or two in the area who knows how to do these things, and get up and running and like literally start a whole new career. Like I could take these two machines and start a whole new business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the computer's doing all the work, Jimmy. You're not a craftsman.
That's fine. I'm old. I'm getting old, man. My bones hurt, my knees hurt, my elbows hurt, my eyes hurt. So I let the computer do all the heavy lifting. I don't care.
I like that attitude.
So I'm just talking about this is just my own personal excitement about like living in this era where like, Matt Cremona can just like open up YouTube and build a bandsaw, and like just watch YouTube videos and build a bandsaw machine that, 15 years ago you would have been like, oh my God, one of these days when I get near the ability to, even see one of these machines up close. And now you got guys like Matt Cremona just like making them himself because he's developing the confidence and, you know, the chutzpah to just go and do it. So that's all.
Cool. That's it. Well, for me, so mine's a little different this week. It's a movie. And it's a movie that I would kind of imagine the two of you would have zero interest in, but I challenge you to watch it.
Star Wars?
Called, no. It's called Kubo and the Two Strings. Have you heard of this movie?
No.
I saw it.
Okay. It's, you didn't see it. You don't watch movies. It's one that came out a while ago, and it's not necessarily a kid's movie, but I watched it with my kids last night. And it's made by Leica, the company that did Coraline and Box Trolls and a few other things. But Leica's thing is that they do stop motion. And so everything is physical. Well, not everything, like the backgrounds, I guess, aren't. But most of the foreground motion is physical stop motion. And it's unbelievable. You watch this movie and I'm constantly looking at scenes going, there's no way that's not a computer, because it's just mind blowing. And it's a beautiful movie. And so I would suggest you guys, you know, find a way to maybe for free sometime, but you know, find a way to watch it, because it is just a gorgeous
What's it called
movie.
again?
And then when you Kubo, Kubo and the Two Strings.
Okay.
And you know, watch it from like a technical perspective. I mean, it's a good story. It's beautifully written and all that stuff as well. But, you know, when you're watching it, just think about the fact that this all stop motion, and it's kind of mind blowing. So check it out.
Is it available like on iTunes or something?
It just came out on video, so I don't even know if you can rent it yet. We ended up buying it on Amazon, but you may be able to. I'm not really sure if you can rent it. But it's very good. I would suggest it. And at the end of it, in the credits, they show, I would imagine if you buy it on disc, you probably get like some behind the scenes stuff to where you can see the process. But at the end of the credits, they have this one scene from the movie that they show they like zoom out of it and they show the studio that they're shooting this thing in. And you get the scale of how big this set is that they made. And it's this giant skeleton with swords sticking out of its head. And in the movie, you have no concept of how big this thing is. But when they zoom out of this, you see that the sculpture of this skeleton is like probably 10 feet tall or something. Wow. It's way bigger than the people who are actually working on it. It just, you know, gives you a perspective on how much work.
One of my favorite movies, and I used to show it to my students all the time. I'd actually make them watch like an hour of it, is The Nightmare Before Christmas DVD, and it shows the behind the scenes. Do you guys ever watch that?
I haven't seen the behind the scenes.
Oh, it's old. I mean, as old as that movie is. I was watching it around that time. But that behind the scenes making of the movie is just an incredible technical know-how and education. If you've never seen it, you should really take the time to watch it as a maker. Covers 700 different disciplines. Yeah.
A friend of mine used to work at Leica, and he was a designer, and he posted a picture one time, because when they make these movies with stop motion, they will make a miniature head of every, or maybe, I think it's every one. Anyway, they make a head with every version of the face that they can make. And so they have this room with all these heads just stacked up everywhere. So then when they go to animate, they just swap out the head. They get, you know, the progression of from a straight mouth to a smile or whatever. And so he posted this picture of this room with all of these heads of this one particular character. And when you see something like that, you're like, wow, there's a huge amount of work, because that's all for one face of one character in a movie full of characters and full of environments and full of, you know, stuff's mind-blowing to me. But good movie too, so go check it out.
Yeah.
All right, got to thank our Patreon supporters real quick, who I will have to say are making a lot of the stuff that we're doing in Boston possible. So big thanks for that. Especially Make, Build, Modify and Luis Gonzalez. But everybody over there it's helpful. We really appreciate the support. If you want to help us out, go to patreon.com/makingit. And I guess that's it for this week, unless you guys got anything else.
I'm going to be at Rochester Maker Fair Saturday the 19th. I think that's the day after the day this airs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'll be hanging out there with those guys. Jesse and Rory May's coming, and that weekend, Chop with Chris is going to come hang out at the Rochester Fair, and then he's going to come to my house, and we're going to shoot some stuff in my farmhouse. He's driving over from Indiana.
Cool. Well, that's it for this week then, guys. Thanks for listening.
All right.
See you later.
Later.
It's so funny. At the end of every episode, these two guys just stare at me and wait for me to say I love you. It's like trying to get off the phone with a girlfriend. You're like, all right, I'll see ya.
You go first. You hang up first.
You say goodbye first. No, you say I love you first.